Okay, testing, 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 testing. Let's go ahead and see how we sound. Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing. Okay, we've got our admin accounts up. And I got so cold. I swear to God, I was like, fuck. I was like, fuck all this. It was too much for me. Well, okay. Got to bring up our other admin bots. One sec here, guys. Okay. Let us see. Let us see. I hope I can be heard. Okay, testing one more time. Testing, 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 testing. Okay, I'm feeling like we're good in terms of audio. If that's not the case, obviously, let me know. We've got some new sound drops.
No one cares.
I feel better. Okay. Fuck, hold on. We're gonna very carefully try to adjust our mic because, like, Lord knows that this mic likes to be extremely uncooperative. Okay. Motherfucker, I swear to God. Okay, I've dropped the same fucking item that I picked up like 11 different times. This is ridiculous. ADHD is so for real. Okay. So we're just going to jump right back in. Okay. Oh, real quick, we're going to pull up our notes here from Discord. Seriously right now? Discord just fucked off here. Discord. What in the world? Hold up. Okay, where's Discord? Jesus Christ, y'all. This is ridiculous. Really? Really? Hold on. Why does this have to make everything hard? Why? That's my question. Right here. Discord. Jesus Christ. And again, notes are in the Discord, and we are go. Oh my fuck. Seriously? This thing. Alright, fine. Jesus Christ. Thankfully, finally, Discord is starting up. So here we go. What the fucking fuck? Hold on. Oh, Anna, please. Why? God. So fucking annoyed right now. Please go do something else, ma'am. Madam. Ma'am. That was not Swift. Okay. Hold on. What in the actual fuck? Honey, I love you, but you need to stop, please. Thank you. Please stop. Thank you. Go ahead and stop. Oh, hold on, guys. Like, why would anything want to function correctly, right? Please. Would ya? Okay. So, we're going to start the whiteboard up. We're going to put that on the screen here. Stop it, ma'am. Hold on. Please. You're getting to be a stinker. It's literally, she has like fucking radar for like the second I start streaming. Anna, this is not great. This is not great. She's purring. She's being adorable. It's super annoying. Okay. Fuckaroo. Alright, kitty. Thank you, baby. Okay, let's just go ahead and add the Discord source up to the screen here, guys. We're gonna hook, god damn it, cat. We're gonna hook up Discord to our screen. Please stop, Anna. Okay, here we go. We're adding our notes. I love you. We're adding in our notes. This cat's driving me absolutely bonkers. I literally can't handle it right now. Again, like the second, the absolute fucking millisecond that I go live, she's up here. She's like, oh, you thought you were going to get away? No. No, ma'am. Okay, so this is fun. Pardon me. I'm trying to put my blankie on. I'm trying to type. You're literally slipping down my chest with your claws out. Okay? I'm not fond of this. I love you, kitty. Can you guys hear her purring? I'm sorry. I know. You're adorable and super fucking annoying. Mwah. Mwah. Anna Marie. Anna Marie. Okay. Please let me know if the purring is too loud. I will scoot the little kitty. Okay, so HHS. And this is diving back into the HHS section. Obviously, as you can see from our notes right here. Okay. But a lot of this information from Project 2025 is literally still being enacted. Like a year and a half now? Yeah, a year and a half later, still being enacted. So it is not completely finished. There is still time. We need to vote against this. We need to speak out against this. But let's back up a sentence here because it gets to the drift of like what they're going for here, which is basically in essence our deficit problem, not a problem by the way, with Medicare and Medicaid. It's caused by Medicare and Medicaid. So our deficit problem is a Medicare and Medicaid problem. Like, get rid of Medicare and Medicaid. What could go wrong? You know, get rid of that. Get rid of it. It'll stop the deficit, which isn't true. We could pay for literal Medicare for all for every person in this country and come nowhere close to being over budget or having that cause a deficit. So that seems like a dishonest framing. And then again, it goes on right under that to say HHS is also home to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, and the National Institutes of Health, NIH, the duo most responsible, along with President Joe Biden, for the irrational, destructive, un-American mask and vaccine mandates. Again, this is so out of date, it's not even funny. That were imposed upon an ostensibly free people during the COVID-19 pandemic. All along, it was clear from randomized controlled trials, the gold standard of medical research, that masks provide little to no benefit in preventing the spread of viruses and might even be counterproductive. Well, that's not true at all, but okay. Yet the CDC ignored these high-quality RCTs. Like, are we talking about pre-pubs? What are we talking about here? High-quality RCTs, huh? Please define. So they're saying the CDC ignored these high-quality RCTs cherry picking from politically malleable observational studies. Like, that's just not true. There are plenty of in vitro and in vivo studies that have been publicly funded throughout the world that have shown, obviously, that masks are of benefit, like fucking duh, when it comes to fighting COVID. Shocking, I know, shocking that masks would prevent the spread of disease, right? I know that's brand new information that absolutely none of us could possibly have known. Okay, I just have to move a couple things around on the screen here. My apologies. Okay. There we go. I'm doing this all while holding a cat with one hand. Yay! Mwah. And declared that everyone except children and infants below the age of 2 should don masks. Okay. Again, this is very out of date, but like, I guess if that's where you want to go, like, if you want to do this information, fair enough, I guess. Weird disinformation campaign to start in like what 2023, but cool, well done. Under COVID is former director of HHS's Office of Civil Rights, Roger Severino, writes in Chapter 14, the CDC exposes itself as perhaps the most incompetent and arrogant agency in the federal government. Nor is the CDC the... Oh my god, fucking shit. Sorry. We've got an arthritic little baby kitty cat here who needs to be handled delicately. One sec. Anna Marie. Anna, could you please go over here or something? Because you're starting to piss mommy off a bit. It's super annoying. We'll feed you in a little bit. I love you. Could you do something else for a little bit? No? Fuck me? Okay, good talk. Could you do something else for just a little bit or lay down here? She doesn't care. Anna, could you like do something else for a little bit? Maybe lay down here? Something like that? Something along those lines? You think? Maybe? Possibly? Come on. Anna, please. I love you, baby. You're my little favorite darling, and I am so sorry to bother you there, honey. I really am. I adore you, and you're my absolute favorite. Sorry. We'll put that up for now because Her Highness apparently needs space to free roam. God, now I've got cat fur in my fucking skincare, and it's driving me nuts. Like, of course, she jumps up when I've got skincare on and just painted my nails. Go. Go. Thank you, baby. Christ, you guys. It's fucking bracing. Anyway. I love you, baby. You just stay there for a little bit, huh? Okay? You're so precious and perfect and darling, and I adore you, and I'll get you in a little bit. And holy fuck, your fur is covering my face right now. My little baby. Anna's that cat who's, well, like I said, a little baby. She's the baby of the house. She's the tiny little sweet, precious darling who, if you get mad at her, you're the worst, obviously. So, I apologize. But unfortunately, Anna Marie needs to Anna Marie. Okay? And that's just that. Alright. Spitting out the cat fur. Oh, wow. My computer is really being fucked right now. Bro. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Let's make sure that we're good to go here. The fuck? Oh, you know what? I should make my little like video here a little. I have two cameras on me, a little smaller, so that I can move up our notes right here. Just a skosh. Okay, there we go. Okay. Moving things around, guys. You know. I think that should be good. Anyway, anywho. Bro, what? Hold on. God damn it. Bunch of fucking bullshit right now. I tell ya. I tells ya. God damn it. Okay. I'm getting prompted to like re-log in with my admin accounts, so I do apologize. That's motherfucker. Sorry. You double fuck asshole. Like, hey fucko. Alright. Thank you. Jesus. I don't know what, like, man, what the fuck? Oh no. We're being forced to use the stupid AI navigator. I'm literally so annoyed I could spit fucking nails right now. God damn it. Okay. Where's my fucking Bitwarden? God, stupid fucker. God damn it. Mm, mm, mm. Change it to list view. You stupid bitch. Okay. You know what? No. You dumbass motherfucker. I don't know what the problem is, but since the latest update, my device has been ass, shit, and butt. I know what it's trying to do. So, like, if you guys are interested in hearing the bullshit while I'm going through it here, and I understand if you're not, but, like, here's the deal, okay? So, I use Bitwarden, not, you know, the native, like, OS, like, crappy ass, fucking shitty little password manager that they give you with their stupid OS, right? Because, like, ew, who uses that? And it will try to force it back to the OS version of the password manager literally every fucking time without fail. Without fail. And same thing with my audio routing. So that's why sometimes people will be like, oh, you sound funny, or like there's an echo, because the fucking audio routing is just forcibly re-fucking routed. Murder. Okay. Jesus HW fucksticks. What is the problem? Seriously? You dumb motherfucker. Not you guys. You guys are awesome. Okay. What the fucking fuck? And so I assume that perhaps this is a bid to sort of force me to like use the stupid AI like finder, like what, not finder, what do you call it? Search function basically. Give me literally maybe 30 seconds. Okay, and then my admin account here on Twitch. Okay. Huh. Well, that is so odd. What the hell? You guys, what the fuck? What? Okay. This is nuts. Also, no, don't come up right now. Thank you. Also, what the fuck? I've been having some issues with like. What the hell, you guys? Bless you, kitty. Okay. Sorry. Okay. There we go. I've been having some issues with like it not wanting to recognize my passkeys. Again, because I tend to think that it's because my OS wants me to use the like pre-install. Yep, here it is, right here. Yep, here it is, right here. It's like use the pre-installed password manager, and I'm like, get fucked. So, it's fun. It's fun when you're fighting with your password manager. I tell you. Okay, let's go ahead and get back to Project 2025. And while we're doing this, I'm just going to go over here. um, Apologies for the how big that is going to get. Motherfucker. Haha, you guys, I'm so annoyed. I apologize for how this is going to move all over your screen right now, but give me a sec. We really need to fucking, I swear to God right now, we really need to make sure I can see what I'm typing, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, there we go. I did have to reset my whole scene with OBS too, so that was fun. Okay, so let's go back to the notes really quick. I'm just going to throw in, because we're at part 3 of the general welfare, right? And no, it's not talking about like welfare or the welfare state or anything. We're talking about literally the general welfare of people, but also welfare type programs. So for that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw in some notes that I'm just going to give my opinion and like summarize things, because here's what I think, right? I'm just gonna say it seems to be a popular argument within Project 20, if I could type Project 2025, that Medicare and Medicaid are causing, let's say, budgetary overages. This is not the case. Just leave it at that, because I don't need to get into every stupid little point they make. It's, this is not the case. Like, this is just not the case. Budgetary overages, deficits, yada, 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 are not caused by Medicare and Medicaid, right? And getting back into this weird like COVID-19 era, like hoax, pandemic nonsense, it doesn't really serve anybody. So I'm not really sure why this was left in, because look, while while spelling and grammar are not necessarily probably weren't of paramount importance to the people publishing this document in the in the Mandate for Leadership series with the Heritage Foundation, at least they somewhat have tried to adopt like coherent positions, even if they're strange, right? Even if they're bizarre, even if they're nonsensical in some ways, which is why I'm a little puzzled as to what makes them go, we ought to throw in all this outdated COVID disinformation. Like, what? Why? What? How does that help anything? Anyway, under COVID, they go on to say, so these aren't my beliefs, obviously, that I'm reading. Under COVID, as former director of HHS's Office of Civil Rights, Roger Severino writes in Chapter 14, the CDC exposed itself as perhaps the most incompetent and arrogant agency in the federal government, nor is the CDC the only villain in this play. Severino writes of the National Institutes of Health, despite its popular image as a benign science agency. What is it? Some nefarious governmental organization seeking to destroy the world? Is that what it is? So despite its popular image as a benign science agency, NIH is responsible for paying for its research in aborted baby body parts. That's not true. Human-animal chimera experiments, not true, in which the genes of humans and animals are mixed, and gain-of-function viral research that may have been responsible for COVID-19. Guys, this just in, COVID-19 was a mix of animal and human chimera research. That's why it happened, because the chimera escaped the lab. Apparently, a human goat hybrid just started running down the street somewhere, and I don't know, decided to cough on people, and that's how COVID spread. Obviously, right up there with the lab leak hypothesis for all of its amazing information, isn't it? Um, so yeah, the NIH was using baby body parts and human animal chimera experiments, and that's how COVID happened, in which the genes of humans and animals are mixed in gain of function viral research that may have been responsible for COVID 19. Okay, no. Severino writes that Anthony Fauci's division of the NIH, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, because don't you know the evil villains are usually in charge of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. They go from head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases to I will destroy Metropolis with my death ray is what they do. It's known. It is known, you guys. It's true. Don't argue. Don't argue. So they're saying Fauci owns half the patent for that's not true, for the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. And several NIH employees receive up to $150,000 annually from Moderna vaccine sales. That's not true. And if it's only several employees, I'm sure you won't mind, sourcing your information. Anyway, it goes on to say that would be the same experimental mRNA vaccine. It's not experimental, by the way, just to be clear. I know I keep interrupting with facts and information. Who wants that, right? Ick. But these vaccines, these mRNA vaccines, had been being worked on for at least 15 years prior to them being deployed, to prevent COVID, right? So, no, they're not some like brand new technology where it hasn't been tested. Like it's been tested for years. Yes, it was fast tracked so that we could get treatment or avoid treatment and get prevention for people who wanted that and needed that during the COVID pandemic. But it's still, even though they say it was fast tracked, it still was researched for over like 15, 16 years before COVID hit. So facts matter. Anyway, that would be the same experimental mRNA vaccine that the CDC now wants to force on children, no, who are at little to no risk from COVID-19, no, but at great risk from public health officials, again, no. It's interesting that they were able to be wrong multiple times in one sentence. That seems like it should be record setting in some regard. It should be in like the Guinness Book of World Records if that still exists. Maybe we can apply. The incestuous relationship between the NIH, CDC, and vaccine makers with all of the conflict of interest it entails cannot be allowed to continue, and the revolving door between them must be locked. As Severino writes, funding for scientific research should not be controlled by a small group of highly paid and unaccountable insiders at the NIH. What the fuck? Many of whom stayed in power for decades. The NIH monopoly on directing research should be broken. So what? We can let in more private companies because that'll be more ethical? Anyway, it goes on to say, what's more, NIH has long been at the forefront in pushing junk gender science. That's not the case. The next HHS secretary should immediately put an end to the department's foray into woke transgender activism. Weird. Why are they so obsessed with private parts, especially when it comes to kids? That's kind of gross. Anyway, but ladies and gentlemen, may I present the Heritage Foundation, a lovely group of people who are obsessed with the private parts of everybody, but also young folks specifically. Fun times, am I right? HHS also pushes abortion as a form of health care. Not true. Skirting and sometimes blatantly defying the Hyde Amendment in the process. Not true. Severino writes that the FDA should reverse its approval of chemical abortion drugs because the politicized... Are you talking about Plan B? It's not a chemical abortion drug per se. Because the politicized approval process was illegal from the start. I don't know what that means. In what way? Be specific. Source your information. In addition, they go on to say HHS programs often violate the spirit and sometimes the letter of conscience protection laws? Conscience protection laws? Huh. Not sure what that is exactly. Severino writes that the HHS secretary should pursue a robust agenda to protect the fundamental right to life, protect conscience rights, and uphold bodily integrity rooted in biological realities. Not ideology. I mean, it is. So, problem solved. Move on, right? I'm sure they'll be moving on from that point any day now. The next secretary should also reverse the Biden administration's focus on LGBTQ plus equity. Yeah. Subsidizing single motherhood? Bro, what? Disincentivizing work? And penalizing marriage. Yeah, because those things happen in bizarro world. Replacing such policies with those encouraging marriage, work, motherhood, fatherhood, and nuclear families. I'm not interested in this right now, Kitty. I love you, though. If there is another department that has gone off the rails like HHS during the Obama and Biden administrations, it is the once proud Department of Justice, DOJ. Oh, yeah, that's right, because they were investigating Trump, so that's bad. Got it. As former counselor to the Attorney General, Gene Hamilton writes in Chapter 17, the department has a long and noble history. Edmund Randolph, the first Attorney General, took office the same year as President Washington. Yet its long-standing reputation has been marred by the Biden administration's abuse of the, that socialist, that known socialist, Joe Biden, him. By the Biden administration's abuse of the department's powers for its own ends. Hamilton writes that the department's unprecedented politicization and weaponization under Biden and Attorney General Merrick Garland, resulting in politically motivated and viewpoint-based prosecutions of political enemies and indifference to the crimes of political allies, has made the department. Are they talking about Hunter Biden's laptop, you guys? Has made the department a threat to the republic. Oh, you guys are so cute for trying. I love it. The most important thing for the next attorney general, i.e. Donald Trump's attorney general right now, I guess he doesn't really have an attorney general. He's got acting attorney general Todd Blanche because Pam Bondi was ousted. So the next attorney general just means Todd Blanche, I guess, right now. To refocus the department on its core functions of protecting public safety and defending the rule of law, while restoring its values of independence, impartiality, honesty, integrity, respect, and excellence. This is especially true of the of the Federal Bureau of Investigations. Will you please fucking stop? I'm really getting annoyed. I know you want some more food, and you're going to get food pretty soon. I apologize. This is especially true of the Federal Bureau of Investigations, a bloated, arrogant, increasingly lawless organization, especially at the top. Bro, what? The FBI views itself as an independent agency that is on par with the Attorney General rather than as an agency that is under the AG and fully accountable to him or her. To rein in this completely out of control bureau and reminded of its place within rather than at the top of the DOJ hierarchy, Hamilton writes that the FBI's separate Office of General Counsel with approximately 300 attorneys, separate Office of Legislative Affairs and separate Office of Public Affairs should all be abolished. Why? Because they're making the case at other points in this document, the Office of General Counsel is extremely necessary for like every possible branch of government in every possible office. So that's an odd rejoinder. That's an odd statement to make, isn't it? Okay. Please, thank you. Please don't climb on me right now. I love you. I'll give you food in a little bit. Threat to the Republic. Okay. The most important thing for the next Attorney General, i.e., I guess Todd Blanche right now, I guess, to do is to refocus the department on its core functions of protecting public safety and defending the rule of law while restoring its values of independence, impartiality, honesty, integrity, respect, and excellence. This is especially true if the FBI is, like he says, they, I guess, shouldn't have an Office of General Counsel. They shouldn't have an Office of Legislative Affairs. They shouldn't have an Office of Public Affairs. Okay. Search me. Requiring the FBI to get its legal advice from the wider department would serve as a crucial check on an agency that has recently pushed past legal boundary after legal boundary. Indeed, Hamilton writes, the next conservative administration, i.e. Donald Trump right now, should eliminate any offices within the FBI that it has the power to eliminate without any action from Congress. Elsewhere, the DOJ should target violent and career criminals, not parents. What does that mean? Not parents. What? Work to dismantle criminal organizations, partly by rigorously prosecuting interstate drug activity, and restart the Trump administration Part 1's China Initiative to address Chinese espionage and theft of trade secrets. Well, they have not been doing that in the new Trump administration. I'll tell you that much. They've been pretty cozy with China, which the Biden administration terminated largely out of a concern for poor optics. It should also enforce existing federal law that prohibits mailing abortifacients. Well, they've tried, haven't they, in this administration, rather than harassing pro-life demonstrators. Respect the constitutional guarantee of the freedom of speech, rather than trying to police speech on the internet. And enforce federal immigration laws rather than pretending there is no border. In contrast to DOJ's long history, the Department of Education, the Department, or ED, discussed by Lindsey Burke in Chapter 11 as the creation of the Jimmy Carter administration, which I guess is bad. The department is a convenient one-stop shop for the woke education cartel, which they should put that on shirts. As the COVID era showed, is not particularly concerned with children's education. Schools should be responsive to parents rather than to leftist advocates intent on indoctrination. And the more the federal government is involved in education, the less responsive to parents the public schools will be. This department is an example of federal intrusion into a traditionally state and local realm. Well, what they're saying is we want to do vouchers in charter schools and, get rich off of our private company buddies, essentially making their way into this part of government. That's what they're really saying. They don't care about children. That's not why they're making this argument. Let's be clear. So, this department is an example of federal intrusion into a traditionally state and local realm. For the sake of, somebody please think of the children. For the sake of American children, Congress should shutter it and return control of education to the states. Short of this, the Secretary of Education should insist that the department serve parents and American ideals, not advocates whose message is that children can choose their own sex. That America is systemically racist. My God, systems of oppression? No, we can't imagine discussing that they exist. Make it stop. That math itself is racist. Yeah, nobody said that. And that Martin Luther King Jr.'s ideal of a colorblind society, that's not his ideal, should be rejected in favor of reinstating a color-conscious society. The next head of this department will have a lot to do, hopefully culminating in the, yeah, I'm sure Linda's super busy giving a shit about all of that, hopefully culminating in the department's closure and the salutary restoration of educational control to states, localities, and parents. Linda McMahon is probably getting busy doing that right now, don't you think? Don't you think? Wild. The next Secretary of Energy will similarly have much work to do under the next president, i.e., Donald Trump, right now. The Department of Energy should end the Biden administration's unprovoked, rather, if I could talk, war on fossil fuels. Restore America's energy independence. Oppose eyesore windmills. Yeah, eyesore windmills. Built at taxpayer expense, and respect the right of Americans to buy and drive cars of their own choosing, as if that wasn't a thing. Guys, did you know that you can't buy a car of your own choosing? It's not allowed. I didn't either. I just bought one. So imagine me, calling me shocked. Imagine me not knowing that after just having bought a new car. Shocking. Rather than trying to force them into electric vehicles and eventually out of the driver's seat altogether in favor of self-driving robots. As former commissioner of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, Bernard L. McNamee says in Chapter 12, a conservative president must be committed to unleashing all of America's energy resources and making the energy economy serve the American people, not special interests. In Chapter 10, Darren Boxt writes that the Biden administration's Department of Agriculture claims to be, quote-unquote, transforming the food system as we know it, but the government does not need to transform the food system. Instead, it should respect American farmers, like Trump is doing, right? Truckers and families. In Chapter 13, former Chief of Staff at the Environmental Protection Agency, Mandy Gunasekara, writes that the EPA's current activities and staffing levels far exceed its congressional mandates and purpose, whereas its initial success in its infancy in the 1970s, lots of uses of the quotation mark here that aren't necessary, was a product of clear mandates, a streamlined structure, and recognition of the state's prominent role. Having since become a coercive agency full of embedded activists, its structure and mission should be greatly circumscribed. Former Secretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, Dr. Benjamin S. Carson, you know Ben Carson, the cuckoo kitty guy, the guy who's like some kind of an ocular surgeon. I think he's an ophthalmological neurosurgeon, maybe, I want to say. Cuckoo bananas. You should look him up if you don't know who he is. But he was Secretary of HUD, Housing and Urban Development, in Trump Part 1, right? In Trump Part 2 over here, he is not involved, at least that I am aware. I could be wrong, but that I'm aware, he's not currently involved. But really quick here. Mission creep. Do they mean scope creep? Like, are they trying to use like tech terminology or like professional terminology like that? Anywho, I'm just gonna go ahead and just keep putting in my notes here because this is a lot, right? Let's just, pardon me. Let's just say, without dwelling too much on the specifics, these sections have dealt with ideas such as chimera, I guess human-animal hybrid research. Sorry, I know it's so stupid. Being responsible for COVID-19 not COVID-20, COVID-19. Baby body parts from aborted fetuses being used in experiments that don't exist, and schools needing to be privatized because MLK said so, or something. That's what we're gonna say for these notes, because what the fuck do you mean? Martin Luther King would hate the school system because he wanted a colorblind society. Y'all are insane. Anyway, going on again to say, former Secretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, Dr. Benjamin S. Carson, writes in Chapter 15 that HUD is beset with mission creep and regularly crosses the line into exercising quasi-legislative powers. Gosh, it's almost as if it's a part of the government or something. In the next administration, i.e. Donald Trump, i.e. right now, it should refocus on its core duties and keep non-citizens from living in federally assisted housing. Yeah, and I'll take problems that don't exist for 1,000, Alex. Provide enhanced oversight of foreign ownership of U.S. real estate. Fair enough. I mean, we did have an issue for a while there. I'll give them that, right? With China buying up housing and essentially keeping it corporate owned and or using it for like rental housing that Chinese corporations would benefit from. So fair enough on that. I'll give them that one. But, you know, that said, I'm not going to be shocked if they get kind of fucking racist with this argument in like just a minute here, right? So, keeping non-citizens from living in federally assisted housing, providing enhanced oversight of foreign ownership of U.S. real estate, and invigorating paths toward upward economic mobility. For whom, right? That's the question, isn't it? And economic self-sufficiency. In Chapter 18, former Acting Assistant Secretary of Policy at the Labor Department, the Department of Labor, Jonathan Berry, writes that the department and related agencies should pursue pro-family, pro-worker policies to help restore the family-supporting job at the centerpiece of the American economy in lieu of the current administration's left-wing social engineering agenda, whatever that means. And again, when they're saying the current administration, keep in mind they're talking about Biden. They did kind of let a decent amount of like out-of-date information sort of creep into this, even though obviously it was published before Trump won again in 2024. It's still a little odd to me that there's so much out-of-date nonsense here. It's a lot. It's a lot. So thank you for sticking with me. I appreciate you. So anyway, in Chapter 18, former acting Assistant Secretary of Policy. I'm sorry, my allergies are on fire right now. At the Department of Labor, Jonathan Berry writes that the department and related agencies should pursue, like we said, pro-family, pro-worker policies to help restore the family-supporting job as a centerpiece of the American economy. It's like, yeah, pay people a living wage and give them rights, and don't be anti-union. That's how that happens, fucko. The most assertive in history, whatever that means, which empowers race, gender, and climate change activists at the expense of American workers. Sure, bud. Sure, pal. In Chapter 19 on the Department of Transportation, DOT, former DOT Deputy Assistant Director for Research and Technology, Diana Forgot Roth, writes, in pursuit of an anti-fossil fuel climate agenda never approved by Congress, the Biden administration has raised fuel economy requirements to, oh my God, can you imagine, guys, to levels that cannot realistically be met by most gas-powered cars, thereby reducing Americans' freedom while increasing costs. Lastly, former acting chief of staff at the Department of Veterans Affairs, Brooks D. Tucker, echoing concerns expressed in other chapters, writes in Chapter 20 that the Veterans Affairs VA must be accountable to the needs and problems of veterans, not subservient to the parochial preferences of the bureaucracy. I mean, that's kind of a nothing burger of a sentence, but fair enough. Okay. All right. So moving on here. Okay, Department of Agriculture is the next part of this. And my butt hurts is also an announcement I felt I needed to make just now. You're welcome. I know you were clamoring to know that. Let's go ahead and just... Like, we might not have a lot to say in this section. It's true. But we'll go ahead and label it anyway. Okay. Right. The Department of Agriculture. There we go. We've got a section on that now by Darren Baxt. And I'm going to go ahead and create, create a little bit more space here and just save us some headache later with the whiteboard app. Again, in the Discord, for anybody who's interested in contributing, asking questions, what have you, you're more than welcome to do that there. American farmers efficiently and safely produce food to meet the need. Well, wait, time out real quick. Farmers have been a hot button topic for quite a while because the kind of gentleman farmer, the traditional historical gentleman farmer, has been something that conservatives have been very happy to sort of make motions towards supporting, if not out and out actually supporting, right? Now, that being said, a lot of the sort of big, beautiful bill components and a lot of the new, since last year at least, executive order, kind of flurry of executive orders have made it very difficult for them to continue, all farmers to continue doing what they're doing. Land and property rights have come up as issues, affordability of, you know, even things like tractors, like farm equipment, things like this have been sort of hot button issues here, right? And Donald Trump has really done a number on the farming community. It's quite the startling thing to realize because, again, a lot of these conservative farmers have supported Trump like wholeheartedly and just do not seem to recognize or understand that he's not on their side. Like, he just isn't. But again, a lot of the plans that he has effected are written out right here in Project 2025, right? So again, American farmers efficiently and safely produce food to meet the needs of individuals around the globe because of the innovation and resilience of the nation's farmers. They're not very resilient now, are they, Trump? American agriculture is a model for the world. If farmers are allowed to operate without unnecessary government intervention, what, like help to make sure that they have charge of their land? Like subsidies? Like, is that unnecessary government intervention, buddy? Pal? You know? So, without unnecessary government intervention, in their words, American agriculture will continue to flourish, producing plentiful, safe, nutritious, and affordable food. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, can and should play a limited role with, hey, by the way, welcome, with much of its focus on removing governmental barriers that hinder food production or otherwise undermine efforts to meet consumer demand. The USDA should recognize that what should be self-evident. What does that mean? The USDA should recognize what should be self-evident. This isn't self-evident, but okay. Agricultural production should first and foremost be focused on efficiently producing safe food. Yeah, like it was, guys. But okay, sure. This chapter provides important background on the USDA and identifies many of the USDA specific issues that will be faced by an incoming administration. Again, when they say the next administration, the next conservative administration, the next conservative president, an incoming administration, blah, 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 et cetera, so on and so forth, they're talking about Donald Trump right now. Because again, this was written before he took office. So it provides specific recommendations for the next administration about how to address these issues and lays out a conservative vision for what the USDA should look like in the future. This should be interesting. Mission statement. The current mission statement, as stated by the Biden administration, highlights the broad scope of the USDA to serve all Americans by providing effective, innovative, science-based public policy leadership in agriculture, food and nutrition, natural resource protection and management, rural development, and related issues, with a commitment to, sorry, my eyes are bothering me a lot, guys, to delivering equitable and climate smart opportunities that inspire and help America thrive. So what are we talking about? Climate smart opportunities. They don't believe in climate change. So what does that mean exactly? Like financial climate? Like, what are we talking about? This is it, what are we kind of dog whistling at here? Because we don't believe in climate science around here, right? Heritage Foundation, right? Dan Baxt. The first part of the mission statement regarding the issues, I guess we'll see, right, covered is not new to the Biden administration. It reflects the overly broad nature of the USDA's work. However, the language bringing in equity and climate change is new to the Biden administration and part of the USDA's express effort to transform agricultural production. The USDA's new vision statement illuminates the focus of this effort on, I guess this is from the Biden administration then, from what they're saying, an equitable and climate smart food and agriculture economy that protects and improves the health, nutrition, and quality of life of all Americans, yields healthy land, forests, and clean water, helps rural America thrive, and feeds the world. I'm not sure why that would be bad, but I'm sure we're about to hear that, right? This effort is one of a federal central plan Jesus Christ with the grammar, to put climate change and environmental issues ahead of the most important requirements for agriculture to efficiently produce safe food. Well, yeah, that's what we're doing when we're looking after the climate and making sure that we're planting healthy and nutritious crops, isn't it? The USDA would apparently use its power to change the very nature of the food and agriculture economy into one that is, quote, equitable and climate smart, unquote. Yeah. As an initial matter, the USDA should not try to control and shape the economy, but should instead remove obstacles that hinder food production. Further, it should not place ancillary issues such as environmental issues, really, ahead of agriculture production itself. A proper mission statement, even before the Biden administration's radical effort to reshape the USDA's work. The USDA's mission was and is too broad, including serving as a major welfare agency through implementation of programs such as food stamps. Bro, what? This far-reaching mission is not the fault of the USDA, but of Congress, which has given the department its extensive power. Congress must limit the USDA's role. Sorry. Okay, Congress must limit the USDA's role. A proper mission would clarify that the department's primary focus is on agriculture and that the USDA serves all Americans. The USDA's client is the American people in general, not a subset of interests such as farmers, meat packers, environmental groups, etc. Okay. Within this agricultural focus, the USDA should develop and disseminate information, research the historical role of the USDA, identify and address concrete threats to public health and safety. Really? I don't know about that. That seems like that should be up to the FDA, but okay. So concrete threats to public health and safety arising directly from food and agriculture, remove unjustified foreign trade barriers blocking market access for American agricultural goods, and generally remove government barriers that undermine access to safe and affordable food across the food supply chain. Weird statement there. Core principles should be included within any mission statement, including a recognition that farmers and the food system in general should be free from unnecessary government intervention. Further, there should be clear statements about the importance of sound science to inform the USDA's work and respect. My nose is itching like crazy. I've got cat fur all over the place. And respect for personal freedom and individual dietary choices. Private property rights and the rule of law. So my concern right there would be what they just said about private property rights. What are we trying to get at here? Do you know what I'm saying? Because they have genuinely done away to such a large extent with a lot of these subsidies and things that farmers rely on. So what are we saying? That their land should be privately owned by like corporations that they should rent from or something? Like, I don't quite understand what the gist of that statement is. We don't like climate science, is abundantly obvious, but what is the gist kind of that particular statement, if that makes sense? Anywho, God, my MCAS is acting up like crazy. I've got like hives and itchiness everywhere. I apologize. It's annoying as hell. Bear with me or don't, totally up to you. But it sucks having chronic illness sometimes. Anyway, so I'm just going to put in notes here under that statement. I'm going to say, do they understand how the USDA and grants and subsidies work? Literally at all? Because it is fucking troubling to me. Like, it's very strange the way that they're, I don't know, it's like, yeah, to an extent they're trying to make it seem like they give a shit about farmers, but to an extent they're kind of just going off about how like they think, I guess, that this land should be what, privately owned, and farmers should have to rent it back or something. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's what it's sounding like to me. So like, let me know if your interpretation is different. Anywho, taking these factors into account, below is a model USDA mission statement to develop and disseminate agricultural information and research, identify and address concrete public health and safety threats directly connected to food and agriculture, and remove both unjustified foreign trade barriers for U.S. goods and domestic government barriers that undermine access to safe and affordable food, absent a compelling need, all based on the importance of sound science, personal freedom, private property, the rule of law, and service to all Americans. Okay. What the fuck? Overview. In 1862, President Abraham Lincoln signed into law the legislation that created the USDA. The department had a very narrow mission focused on the dissemination of information connected to agriculture and to procure, propagate, and distribute among the people new valuable seeds and plants. During the last 160 years, the scope of the USDA's work has expanded well beyond that narrow mission and well beyond agriculture itself. In addition to being a distributor of farm subsidies, the USDA runs the food stamp program, oh no, and other food-related welfare programs, their words, not mine, pardon me, and covers issues including conservation, biofuels, forestry, and rural programs. Based on the USDA's fiscal year FY 2023 budget summary, Outlays are estimated at $261 billion, $221 billion for mandatory programs, and $39 billion for discretionary programs. These outlays are broken down as follows. Nutrition assistance, 70%, farm conservation and commodity programs, 14%, all other, which includes rural development, research, food safety, marketing, and regulatory and departmental management, 11%, and forestry, 5%. The USDA has provided a summary of its sizing, explaining, quote, today USDA is comprised, and again, when we're saying today, we're talking about back in the Biden administration. So today, USDA is comprised of 29 agencies organized under 8 mission areas and 16 staff offices with nearly 100,000 employees, serving the American people in more than 6,000 locations across the country and abroad. Okay. Major priority issues and specific recommendations. For an incoming administration, i.e. Donald Trump, i.e. right now, there are numerous issues that should be addressed at the USDA. This chapter identifies and discusses many of the most important issues. The initial issues discussed should be priority issues for the next administration. Defend American agriculture. Motherfucker, pardon me. It is deeply unfortunate that the first issue identified must be a willingness of the incoming administration to defend American agriculture. But this is precisely what the top priority for that administration should be. I swear they are so good at like shadow boxing and like tilting at windmills. Like they're like, we're gonna go out on a limb and make a really important statement about farmers' rights. Farmers deserve to exist. And it's like, yeah, no, they literally do exist. So we're clear, right? Like they exist. Okay, we're good. But they deserve the right to be overseen by the USDA. Yeah, they are. We know. They are. Well, it just doesn't seem like the Biden administration is doing that. It's like, well, I'm not sure who it doesn't seem that way to, but fair enough. You're welcome to your own opinion and interpretation of the facts. It's just they invent the weirdest windmills to tilt at. I swear to God. Again, as previously discussed, the Biden administration is seeking to use the federal government to transform the American food system. Oh my gosh. The USDA website explains the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, alongside Biden-Harris administration leadership, and the people of this great country has embarked on another historic journey, transforming the food system as we know it from farm to fork and at every stage along the supply chain. Okay, what's wrong with that? I don't know. The federal government does not need to transform the food system or develop a national plan to intervene across the supply chain. Instead, it should respect American farmers, truckers. Again, what did I say about tilting at windmills? Like, who's not respecting farmers? What are you talking about? It should respect farmers, truckers, and everyone who makes the food supply chain so resilient and successful. One of the important lessons learned during the COVID-19 pandemic was how critical it is to remove barriers in the food supply chain, not to increase them. So basically, you can drink brown milk now, guys. That's what's happening, I guess. The Biden administration's centrally planned transformational effort minimizes the importance of efficient agricultural production and instead places issues such as climate change and equity front and center. The USDA's strategic plan, fiscal years 2022 to 2026, identifies 6 strategic goals, and the first 3 of which focus on issues such as climate change, renewable energy, and systemic racism. And okay, let's see. Great. Source it then. Let's see. In the Secretary of Agriculture's message, there's only one mention of affordable food for the environment, and nothing about efficient production, incredible innovation, and respect for the environment that already exists within the agricultural community. Bro, what? Windmills. The Biden administration's USDA strongly supported the recent United Nations Food Systems Summit. Okay? According to the USDA, The stated goal of the Food Systems Summit was to transform the way that the world produces, consumes, and thinks about foods within the context of the 2030 Agenda for, for Sustainable Development and to meet the challenges of poverty, food security, malnutrition. I'll get you in a little bit, baby kitty. Population growth, climate change, and natural resource degradation. Yeah, no shit. That's smart. Anyway, Project 2025, though, goes on to say why that's all bad, you guys, why it's all so bad. Not unlike those who oppose reliable and affordable energy production, there is a disdain, especially by some on the left with a capital L, for American agriculture and the food system. Is there, though? The Biden administration's vision of a federal government developing a plan that fixes agriculture and focuses on issues secondary to food production is very disturbing. Okay. A recent USDA created program captures both the disrespect for American farmers and the Biden administration's effort to dictate agricultural practices. The USDA explained that it was concerned with farmers not transitioning to organic farming and therefore announced that it will dedicate $300 million to induce farmers to adopt organic farming. There was no recognition that farmers know how to farm better than DC politicians that. Great spelling and grammar, you guys. Good editing. Good job. Good boys and girls. Good job. That organic food is expensive and land intensive. The Biden administration has also been pushing so-called climate smart. Oh God, my fucking MCAS is on fire. I apologize, guys. And climate smart agricultural practices, which received additional support in the Partisan Inflation Reduction Act. Okay. My cat's fur is making this all worse. I'm having a full-blown fucking, I'm having a full-blown, episode here. I apologize. American agriculture should not need defending. According to the USDA's latest data, farm output nearly tripled, a 175% increase from, that's not nearly tripled, but okay, from 1948 to 2019, while the amount of land farmed decreased. In fact, while Trump was president, is what we're saying. Got it. While the amount of land farm decreased, in fact, as farm output increased by 175%, all agricultural inputs increased by only 4%. In 2021, despite high food prices, a major problem in regressive American consumers spent Jesus Christ, the grammar is terrible. American consumers spent an average of about 10% of their personal disposable income on food. Anyway, moving on, which is close to historic lows. For decades, this share has been in decline. America's farmers efficiently produce food using fewer resources, making it impossible for food to be affordable. This reality is not only something that should be defended, but also touted as a prime example of what makes American agriculture so successful. The connection between efficiency and affordability seems lost in the Biden administration's effort to transform the food system. Okay, that didn't make a lot of sense to me, but fair enough. Goes on to talk about recommendations. Proactively defend agriculture by doing what? How? What? Anyway, proactively defend agriculture. From the outset, the next administration, i.e. Donald Trump, i.e. right now, should denounce efforts to place ancillary issues like climate change ahead of food productivity and affordability when it comes to agriculture. Do you realize how stupid that sounds? Anyway, remove the U.S. from any association with UN and other efforts to push sustainable development schemes connected to food production. Defend American agriculture and advance the critical importance of efficient and innovative food production, especially to advance safe and affordable food. Stress that ideal policy should, pardon me, should remove obstacles imposed on American farmers and individuals across the food supply chain so that they can meet the food needs of Americans. Okay. Clarify the critical importance of efficiency to food affordability and why a failure to recognize this fact especially hurts low-income households who spend a disproportionate share of after-tax income on food compared to higher-income households. What? That's bizarre. Anyway, to accomplish these objectives, I'm sorry, we got to put this in the notes. This is insane-o talk. Anywho, just go ahead and copy and paste that. That is so bizarre. Copy that, put it in our notes. Okay, so our app is on the screen right now, but it is also available in Discord. Do not come up right now, Kitty. Please, ma'am. She's adorable and also annoying as hell. Okay. I know, baby. I love you. You're a good girl. So let's move on to the next little portion of this here. To accomplish these objectives, new administration, i.e. Donald Trump, i.e. right now, should announce its principles through an executive order. Oh, don't worry, they have. The USDA should remove all references to transforming the food system on its website and other department disseminated material, and it should expressly and regularly communicate the principles informing the objectives listed above, as well as promote these principles through legislative efforts. The USDA should also carefully review existing efforts that involve inappropriately imposing its preferred agricultural practices onto farmers. Address the abuse, this is interesting here. Address the abuse of CCC discretionary authority. This is where a lot of farmers have been up in arms about what Trump has done in his second term in office. So, again, he's working from this playbook, from this template, which says right here, address the quote-unquote abuse of CCC discretionary authority. With the exception of federal crop insurance, the Commodity Credit Corporation is generally the means by which agricultural-related farm bill programs are funded. The CCC is a funding mechanism which, in simple terms, has $30 billion a year at its disposal. Section 5 of the Commodity Credit Corporation Charter Act gives the Secretary of Agriculture broad discretionary authority to spend unused CCC money. However, in general, past agriculture secretaries have not used this power to any meaningful extent. Yeah, they don't want the farmers enraged at them. Imagine that. This has changed dramatically, it goes on to say, during the Trump administration, when this discretionary authority was used to fund $28 billion in quote-unquote trade aid to farmers, consisting primarily of the Market Facilitation Program. In 2020, this authority was used for $20.5 billion in food purchases and income subsidies in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. At the time, critics warned that this use of the CCC, which in effect created a USDA slush fund, disagree, but this is where we're going with all of this, would lead future administrations to abuse the CCC, such as by pushing climate change policies. Predictably, this is precisely what the Biden administration has done, using the discretionary authority to create programs out of whole cloth, arguably without statutory authority for what it refers to as climate-smart agricultural practices. We're going to go ahead and copy and paste this all into our notes right here, which are in the Discord, link in the description of this live. So I know it doesn't sound sexy, but we are going to put this into the notes because it's important, okay? So what are we talking about with the CCC? Well, we're essentially talking about doing away with farmers' abilities, right, to actually have access to their land. So it's pretty serious stuff that they're discussing and shouldn't be just hand waved away like that. Like, oh, well, those farmers, what do they really need land for anyway? It's like, that's unbelievable to me. That is just outrageous. But, you know, here we are, I guess. Okay. So farmers have been losing their land since Trump took over in his second term in office, and it's been a real bloodbath for those poor farmers. A lot of the same kind of gentleman farmers who voted for him in the first place. So, is it a fuck around and find out situation? Yes. Is it still wholly unacceptable? Well, also, yes. So, make of that what you will. Pardon me, make of that what you will, but I think our farmers deserve better. I also think that they could vote a little bit better, but that's just my personal opinion. Fuckaroo. Excuse me. I'm literally having a full blown like MCAS flare up right now. I do apologize. Anyway, let's go ahead and look into this a little bit. Hey, Jamie, pull up Perplexity. Let's ask Claude, right? Let's ask Claude. Okay, we're gonna ask. We're gonna ask Claude right here. Pardon me, fuckaroo. Okay. How has Project 2025, we'll say, influenced Trump's Jesus Christ, Trump's legislative agenda regarding farmers and the USDA in his second term, and how are any potential changes being received by farmers? I know the answer to that. I just want to see what specific information Claude comes up with. So, we could go to a Project 2025 tracker here. That would definitely be an appropriate thing to check. Okay. Just saying, right? Just saying. Okay. Do, 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 do. Okay. Let's take a look here. So, anyway, while we're getting this answer. Oh, here we go. Pardon me. Jesus Christ. Anyway, the answer that we're getting is basically it says synthesized policy proposals against implementation realities and farmer reception. So my question to Claude again, and we'll check on Project 2025 tracker later on, was how has Project 2025 influenced Trump's legislative agenda regarding farmers and the USDA in his second term in office, and how are any potential changes being received by those farmers? So, Claude's straight answer, quote unquote, is that Project 2025's fingerprints on USDA policy are real but partial. Trump implemented some of its deregulatory and anti-equity suggestions, again, that we just talked about in Project 2025. While diverging sharply on trade tariffs and basically the tariffs have hurt farmers a great deal too, as well as the CCC nonsense. So it says what Project 2025 called for and what happened. The Heritage Foundation's blueprints pushed elimination of climate-focused USDA programs. Yeah, we just talked about that. Rejection of equity and DEI framing in agricultural policy, and cuts to conservation programs it considered ancillary, quote unquote. We just read through all of that, including a call to kill the conservation reserve program outright. Rather bold, right? Project 2025's authors pushed the incoming Agriculture Secretary to strip all official references to transforming the food and farm system, like we just went over. So they did implement all of this, everything we just read, and to eliminate anything that they viewed as an obstacle, okay, to food production, including environmental considerations. The document explicitly recommends, document being Project 2025, if I could fucking talk, eliminating CRP along with a range of other Farm Bill programs and framed support for climate conscious agricultural policy is a form of ideological extremism rather than legitimate policy. Obviously, we did read through that and we know that. But it goes on to say, pardon me, that in practice, USDA Undersecretary Rawlins followed the deregulatory and anti-DEI part of the script very closely, and that a December 2025 Secretary's memorandum set new USDA research priorities explicitly framed around rejecting quote-unquote misguided DEI and environmental justice programming in agriculture research and extension, and the administration abandoned climate response framing that had characterized the prior administration's approach. On the funding side, Rawlins canceled roughly $10 million in farm-to-school funding for 2025, being the first year in over a decade with no distributions under that program, and the local food purchase assistance and local food for schools program. So they don't want those kids eating. Fuck them kids, right? Ick, don't let kids eat while at school. That's just gross and bad. Which connected small to mid-sized farms to schools and food banks. Those programs were canceled in early 2025, and even though a new farm bill draft would recreate a similar program with $200 million, but without making the funding mandatory, CRP still hasn't been formally eliminated, but new enrollment has been paused because the farm bill it depends on lapsed and hasn't been renewed. So farmers are losing their properties. Farmers are losing their livelihoods. And again, the tariffs have been killing farmers. So some of the, it sounds like some of the conservation funding that the USDA was giving out was helping farmers to essentially pay for all of the things that they needed to continue running their farms. And when that stopped, well, the farmers weren't very fucking pleased about it, essentially. So, yeah, how are farmers receiving it? Well, at least according to to Claude, it says reception has soured considerably. And it's tariffs, not necessarily just Project 2025 ideology that's driving it. Farm bankruptcies rose 46% in 2020. Holy shit, 2025, according to the American Farm Bureau, with 15,000 farms closing last year at the bankruptcy pace accelerating to 70% so far this year in 2026. Trump's net approval among rural voters fell from plus 20 in early 2025 to negative 14 by May 2026 among white rural voters specifically. It fell from plus 27 to negative 6. Can you even begin to conceptualize that? Let's put that in our notes because I do feel like that's an important kind of point to drive home in all of this. That is absolutely wild. What the fuck? Okay, let's go ahead and put that into our notes. Like I said, we're going to just put in notes and make sure that our notes are in yellow for other people who might be lower vision like I am. We'll say per Claude, what is it, Sonnet 5? A Sonnet 5. That is absolutely wild. Wow. So the tariffs and the lack of funding has killed Trump's support amongst farmers. Oh my gosh. I can't believe that though. 75 bankruptcies are now up 75% farm bankruptcies in 2026, and they were up 46% last year. Bro, what? Like, fucking, pardon me? That is, you can talk about making a hash of it, but like, that is almost, you almost have to give him credit for how badly he fucked up. Like, that's like a purposeful level of fuck up right there. Good lord. So, wow. The merits of the various programs funded through the CCC, it says, discretionary authority is not the focus of this discussion. The major problem is that the Secretary of Agriculture is empowered to use the slush fund. Well, no, but okay. Billions of dollars are being used for programs that Congress never envisioned or intended. Concern about this type of abuse is not new. In fact, from 2012 to 2017, Congress expressly limited the Agriculture Secretary's discretionary spending authority under the Charter Act. And this was before the recent massive discretionary CCC spending occurred. The use of the discretionary power is a separation of powers problem. I thought they were saying a separate problem, but they're saying a separation of powers problem, right? With Congress abrogating its spending power. This power is ripe for abuse, as could be expected with any quote-unquote slush fund, as the term they're using in Project 2025. And it is a possible way to get around the Farm Bill process to achieve policy goals not secured during the legislative process. The next administration, i.e. Donald Trump, i.e. right now, should refrain from using Section 5 discretionary authority. The USDA, it says, can address this abuse on its own by following the lead of most administrations and not using this discretionary authority. Promote legislative fixes to address abuse. Ideally, Congress would repeal the Secretary's discretionary authority under Section 5 of the Charter Act. There is no reason to maintain such authority. If Congress needs to spend money to assist farmers, it has legislative tools, including the Farm Bill and the annual appropriations process, to do so in a timely fashion. While not an ideal solution, Congress could also amend the Charter Act to require prior congressional approval through duly enacted legislation before any money is spent. At a minimum, Congress should amend the Charter Act to limit spending to directly help farmers and ranchers address issues due to unforeseen events not already covered by existing programs and that constitute genuine emergencies that must be addressed immediately, prohibit the CCC from being used to assist parties beyond farmers and ranchers, clarify that spending is only to address problems that are temporary in nature, and ensure that funding is targeted to address such problems. So we don't want to address potentially permanent problems, just the temporary ones. Got it. Cool. Great. Awesome. Tighten the discretion within Section 5 and identify ways for improper application of the Charter Act to be challenged in court. Reform farm subsidies. Too often, agricultural policy becomes synonymous with farm subsidy policy. This is unfortunate because making them synonymous fails to recognize that agricultural policy covers a wide range of issues, including issues that are outside of the proper scope of the USDA, such as environmental regulation. However, there is no question that farm subsidies are an important issue within agricultural policy that should be addressed by any incoming administration. There are several principles that even subsidy supporters would likely agree upon, including the need to reduce market distortions. Subsidies should not influence planting decisions, discourage property risk management and innovation, incentivize planting on environmentally sensitive land. Wait, I thought we were saying that there was no environmental sensitivity and that climate change was all fake. But okay. So that it shouldn't incentivize planting on environmentally sensitive land or create barriers to entry for new farmers. Farm subsidies can lead to these market distortions, and therefore it would hardly be controversial to ensure that any subsidy scheme should be designed to avoid such problems. The overall goal should be to eliminate subsidy dependence. Okay, why? Okay. Despite what might be conventional wisdom, many farmers receive few to no subsidies, with most subsidies going to only a handful of commodities. According to the Congressional Research Service, CRS, from 2014 to 2016, 94% of farm program support went to just 6 commodities: corn, cotton, peanuts, rice, soybeans, and wheat, that together account for only 28% of farm receipts. Yeah, probably because those areas need special attention, you dum-dums. Anyway, moving on. Although many farmers do not receive much in the way of subsidies, especially those in the areas of livestock and specialty crops, fruit, vegetable, and nuts, there are still a significant number of farmers growing row crops like corn and cotton that do receive significant farm subsidies. The primary subsidy programs include the Agriculture Risk Coverage (ARC) program, the Price Loss Coverage (PLC) program, and the Federal Crop Insurance program. Why is that bad? I'm not understanding why that's bad, but okay. They go on to say farmers can participate on a crop-by-crop basis in the ARC program or the PLC program. These programs cover about 20 different crops. The ARC program protects farmers from what are referred to as quote-unquote shallow losses, providing payments when their actual revenues fall below 86% of the expected revenues for their crops. The PLC program provides payments to farmers when commodity prices fall below a fixed statutorily established reference price. The Federal Crop Insurance Program is broader in scope than ARC and PLC, and in crop year 2019 covered 124 commodities. Farmers pay a portion of a premium to participate in the program. Taxpayers on average pay about 60% of the premium. Yeah, well, no shit, but it's not going to be that much per person, and it's important, right? As explained by CRS, revenue protection was the most frequently purchased policy type in 2019, accounting for almost 70% of policies purchased. While there are certainly other subsidy programs besides ARC, PLC, and federal crop insurance, one program that deserves special mention is the Federal Sugar Program. This program, unlike most other subsidy programs, intentionally tries to restrict supply and thereby drives up prices. The program costs consumers as much as $3.7 billion a year. Okay. When it comes to reforming subsidy programs, the next administration, i.e. Donald Trump, i.e. right now, will primarily have to look to legislative solutions. The next administration, i.e. Donald Trump, i.e. right now, should champion legislation that would repeal the Federal Sugar Program. The federal government should not be in the central planning business, and the sugar program is a prime example of the harmful central planning. Its very purpose is to limit the sugar supply in order to increase prices. The program has a regressive effect since lower income households spend more of their money to meet food needs compared to higher income households. Ideally repeal the ARC and PLC programs. Farmers eligible to participate in ARC or PLC are generally already able to purchase federal crop insurance policies that protect against shortfalls in expected revenue whether caused by lower prices or smaller harvests. The ARC program is especially egregious because farmers are being protected from shallow losses, which is another way of saying minor dips in expected revenue. Yeah, but they're not like major corporations, they're fucking farmers. Oh my goodness. Ugh. Anyway, this is hardly consistent with the concept of providing a safety net to help farmers when they fall in hard times. The Congressional Budget Office, CBO, in one of its options to reduce the federal deficit, has once again identified repealing all Title I farm programs, including ARC, PLC, and the Federal Sugar Program. Stop paying farmers twice for price and revenue losses during the same year. Well, I don't feel like that's what's happening, but okay. Farmers can receive support from the ARC or PLC programs and the federal crop insurance program. Yeah, for different crops probably, but okay. To cover price deadlines and revenue shortfalls during the same year. Congress should prohibit this duplication, or it could prove that there's duplication first, by prohibiting farmers from receiving an ARC or PLC payment the same year they receive a crop insurance indemnity. Reduce the premium subsidy rate for crop insurance. On average, taxpayers cover about 60% of the premium cost for policies purchased in the federal crop insurance program. One of the most widely supported bipartisan policy reforms is to reduce the premium subsidy the taxpayers are forced to pay. At a minimum, taxpayers should not pay more than 50% of the premium. After all, taxpayers should not have to pay more than the farmers who benefit from the crop insurance policies. CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, has found that reducing the premium subsidy to chronic pain to 40%, to 47% would save $8.1 billion. Oh, right, but how much would it cost us? And in food and in loss of production, right? Anyway, it says that CBO has found that reducing the premium subsidy to 47% would save $8.1 billion over 10 years. Oh God, over 10 years, and have little impact on crop insurance participation or on the number of covered acres. In that analysis, there would be a reduction in insured acres of just 0.5%, and only 1.5% of acres would have lower coverage levels. This reform is basically all benefit with little to no cost, and its recently released report identifying options to reduce the federal deficit, CBO found that reducing the premium subsidy to 40% would save $20.9 billion over 10 years. Let's go ahead and copy all of this and see. Anna, please, I love you. I'll get you shortly, baby. See what Claude has to say about that. Okay. I see you, baby. Hey, ma'am, please. I've got an adorably persistent kitty. Please, kitty, would ya? Okay. I think I'm gonna have to restart the stream momentarily because I do have to feed these little fuckers. I shall be back. Don't you worry.